Welcome to the beautiful Finalborgo, the beating heart of Finale outdoor region. We're joined today by a Hall of Famer, Enrico Guala, and we're going to be talking about racing and the new Bosch CX Performance Line motor. Wow, Enrico, first of all, congratulations of joining the Mountain Bike Hall of Fame. Was that a surprise?
Well, kind of. It's as a group, together with Fred and Chris, we've been acknowledged by the development of Enduro World Series, the impact of an international series on the industry as a whole. Of course, we started back in Super Enduro in Italy with Franco, with Alberto, Francesco, Marzio, and all my team. So I need to thank and use a little bit this moment to thank all the people that have been, behind the scenes. But yeah, it's been a journey.
We are very much at the home of Enduro, aren't we? Yeah. It seems today we're also at the home of open air markets. We've got a band downstairs. We've got literally, it's an unbelievable amount of mountain bikers here. It very much is a mountain bike mecca, isn't it?
Someone calls it the spiritual home of Enduro. You probably know that Enduro World Series was actually founded in a bar down at the beachside.
Yes, I know that.
We've been riding Enduro bikes for a lot of time here. And yes, it's peak season now, it's October, and there's a lot of people coming from all over the world to enjoy our trails.
It's quite funny, it's how marked the transition is between the locals lying on the beach in September, and then it comes the end of September, and it's like all the deck chairs get closed down, and the mountain bikers move in, right?
That's exactly what we call, the best tourism we can have, because we got mountain bikers and hikers and outdoor people. Beginning of the season, then we got the beach season, and then we got the outdoor again. So now the season of tourism in Finale is basically 12 months long.
Folks, if you've never been to Finale outdoor region, I highly recommend you come and taste the flavor of the food, the wine, but also the massive dense complex of trails in these wonderful mountains. But Enrico, I need to change the tone of our chat just for a minute. Turn our attention to E-Enduro World Cup racing, which doesn't seem to have a place in the calendar for 2025. What went wrong?
Several things or nothing. Okay. Depending on how you put things into context.
I mean, so let's get something straight now. Is this the end, or is this just a pause in the system?
I believe it's a pause. I believe it's a pause because I truly believe that Enduro, as a discipline within the discipline of mountain bike, is the best to represent and to represent the bikes we all ride. So I don't see that, honestly, cross country being that interesting, downhill being that interesting, or any other discipline other than Enduro. And there's a link that, of course, it's in the heart and the history of Enduro, and it comes from motorcycle. So we just have to fine-tune it, I believe, and grow the fan base to get the level, the World Cup level.
Let's rewind a second then. We're looking back, I mean, e-mountain biking, it didn't really get going until, say, 2015, 2016. It was only 2018 that the trial, the test event was held here in Finale on some incredibly technical trails. I do believe you're one of the few people to clean that stage, right?
Back then.
But, the power stage became, one of the showpiece features for e-enduro racing. And it's very cool, isn't it?
Super cool.
It's amazing.
But how many people can actually ride that?
True. I mean, we were on the stage. We were on La Nino back only 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And I think maybe 60% of the entry couldn't get up that climb. So we are at the beginning of the sport, aren't we, really?
So I think, top guys, super skilled, they can show what is possible, but there's a whole development that needs to be done with amateurs. We need to take them by hand and start to guide them on climbing trails, on uphill flow trails, on different levels to achieve that moment, that peak of performance.
So do you think then that maybe E-Enduro World Cup as it is now, maybe the format has not been set yet? I mean, you talked about the amateurs, because when I did it, the whole idea of an adventure out in these hills, that really did attract me. And I thought, it's great to ride fresh trails. I mean, the fact that you've been put against the clock was kind of secondary to the whole adventure thing.
But still, in World Cup level, what counts is the time. Less the experience, more the racing. So I think we still need to develop that fan base, get people excited about someone that can clean Legnino at the super high speed with flow, with volley, like those maneuvers, which are phenomenal. But you don't go to university without going through high school.
Well, I did.
I think we need to educate people how to use these fantastic tools, which you do, we do.
Yeah.
But how many people actually use the e-bike at the fullest potential? So before getting to the World Cup, we need to build, I believe, the way the people ride it.
Yeah, absolutely. But, if we do get there, that we saw back in May, there's a potential for the crowds to become trackside. And there's an edginess to uphill racing, which downhill hasn't even got, because you're this close from a rider on a really technical climb, and the crowds are shouting and the pressure's on. I mean, there's definitely something there that the media can capture, I think, and inspire more people to take part in, right?
Here's a story for you. When we first thought with Chris and Fred about the format, we were here in Finale and thinking, dreaming about having a DH man on the way up. Same thing. And I think it's still valid. It's gonna happen. But we need more time.
I think it's interesting. There's a lot of the chat as well was around about how do you prevent cheating at racing as well? But I'm not sure that's as important, because if you think about it, like you're 65 kilos, I'm 95 kilos, a motor which is 100 Newton meters, it's what? For example, say I was riding a motor which is 100 Newton meters and you were riding a motor which was 70 Newton meters, you would probably still have the advantage over me on a hill climb, right?
Yeah.
But I guess it's not just that, it's the whole business of strategy, line choice, tire choice, suspension, geometry is such a complex story when it comes to uphill power stages, isn't it?
Psychological pressure.
Psychological pressure, yeah.
Which you don't feel on downhill.
You don't know, because the crowd is going past you. Well, Enrico, hopefully we will find a solution to the sport of e-Enduro, because I think there definitely is a future in it.
I believe it's just a matter of time. And on the other hand, when we look at what are the race formats on E, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But what is the direction? Like, is it the worlds for everybody, the World Championship for everybody with 2,000 participants? Maybe not.
No.
Is it a tour around a mountain? Maybe not. So I think E still needs to find its place. Enduro is, in my opinion, the right format.
It seems to be right, because if you look at the majority of e-mountain bikes that are sold, they do tend to be in the 150, 60 mil brackets, don't they?
When we saw world champs, cross-country world champs on enduro bike, sorry, there's a problem of identity.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Folks, let us know your thoughts about racing. Have you ever taken part in an e-mountain bike race? And what do you think should be the format of e-racing in the future? Enrico, let's turn our attention now to a bit of news. Last week saw the launch of the Bosch 5th generation CX motor.
Oh, yeah.
Very much a story of refinement. I mean, some of the highlights: less noise, less weight, coatings on the casings, 2-bolt system. Very much, like I said, a fine tune of a fine tune. But you've been involved in that for a while, right? On the Bosch.
I mean, I wouldn't say involved, but because the Bosch is a partner of the region, and we're down the road from Stuttgart, so we see them quite a lot here in the region, testing and doing product development.
What would you say is one of the highlights of the new motor?
Well, when I rode it first time, it was after a rainy day, and we basically climbed up.
It rains here?
Sometimes. It was March, so end of winter. And what I was completely blown away is the performance on wet limestone, which is not grippy at all.
No, it's not.
So let's say the control and the suppleness and the way you can just use the motor and the power, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. I think
someone said years ago, there's no power without control.
I think that was a Welsh tyre company, wasn't it? Sorry, Italian tyre company.
It was an Italian company.
But you know, I think it's an interesting point because there seems to be this mindset at the moment of more power, more power, more power. But like, I was up in the Lake District not so long ago. It was hammered home to me the fact that a tyre which works in the dry, on dry rocks, if it rains and the temperature drops, the difference in how a tyre reacts to cold, like this thermal stability of it, is massive. A tyre can go from being pretty good to being absolutely awful. Tyres are so important, aren't they?
And that bike was equipped with very, very good tire before they've been even released. So I think today, especially when we're talking about uphill flow and performance on how we can climb those impossible things and stuff, it's a balance of everything.
Folks, keep an eye out for a whole raft of Bosch Gen 5 motors coming up over the next few weeks, and we're going to cover them on the channel very soon. Ahead of that, one such bike featuring the new revised Bosch system is the new Obea Wild, a bike carefully evolved since its introduction 6 years ago. The new Wild is lower, slacker and longer than ever, with a low standover perfect for moving around the bike. It's a bike designed for big terrain, an enduro bike through and through, with 170mm travel front and rear. The geometry reflects a bike that is capable of pretty much anything, so long as the rider can. The Wild has the ability to run either 29-inch wheels or mixed wheels, thanks to carefully designed specific linkage options. Obea also say they don't believe that 27.5 to be the best on eMtbs, and we fully agree, which is great why they offer the bike in 29 front and rear. Obea say this bike is stiffer, lighter and more reliable than ever before. At the heart of the bike is the updated Bosch Performance CX motor, now quieter uphill and downhill too. This has been achieved by a new freewheel to eliminate play in the crank and an all-new sprocket material. The new Wild features custom battery hardware to optimise weight distribution, and there's plenty of fuel options too, with either a 600 or a 750 watt-hour option, plus a 250 watt-hour range extender option. The bike is available in carbon or alloy in 4 sizes with an incredible range of build and colour options. Prices start at €6,499. Oh, and that's not all. There's a new Wild short travel version also available at 150mm. Yes, we've got lots to talk about in the next few weeks. Enrico, this is part of the show where we look at where everyone's been riding over the past few weeks. A quick question to you. Where's some of the favourite places you've been riding an e-mountain bike?
There's a different type of places that I love. One is where Fred lives, Fred Glow.
Fred Glow. Congratulations as well, by the way, to Fred Glow and Chris Ball on their induction to the Hall of Fame.
100%. So there's super cool to ride bikes, e-bikes, and Fred has been a pioneer in the sport, so he's got some phenomenal trays. And then the other place, I think what really makes me happy is when I ride big mountains on my e-bike, and you know, we get to these beautiful places at 3,000, 3,500 meters where I couldn't probably go without an e-mountain bike. And I enjoy the technicality of the trails going up and then this beautiful view. And I mean, mountains, mountain bike.
And where there's, you know, it's unpredictable environments, right? So you don't know the nature of the trail, there's no way marking. Obviously, there's weather conditions in the mountains as well.
Sure.
I actually thought for a minute there, you mentioned Fred Glow's area. I thought you were going to talk about Scotland, where Chris comes from as well. Have you ever been riding in North Scotland?
I've been in Scotland, not much. Not the places you have been. Yeah. And I mean, we agreed you need to guide us.
I need to take you to Northwest Scotland. It's a whole new level of experience. But folks, let's take a look where you guys have been going. First of all, Jeff Morris, 2023 Obea Rise in Cascade Falls, Orcas Island, Washington. I guess that is Cascade, Northwest America. And there you go, Enrico. Scottish heaven, riding above Ullapool in the Highlands on my Trek Rail 8.9. So this is the kind of environment we're talking. It is properly out there.
Wild.
Very different. No trees compared to in Finale. And then we've got top of Mount Trashmore Downhill Trail overlooking Cedar Rapids in Iowa. That's Mark. And then finally, just down the road, Enrico, this is Niçois Playground, the heights around town in Nice, France, which is kind of in between here and Fred Blow's place.
Absolutely. And I mean, the hills of Nice have shaped some of the best talent of mountain biking of all time. So the terrain there is challenging, but really good.
Next level. Folks, thanks so much for sending your photographs in. Remember, it could be summertime in the Southern Hemisphere. Send me pictures of your sunshine and also some of the horrible wet weather which you'll maybe be getting in Scotland or Ireland right this moment. Now, some feedback from you guys. This is on the subject of the new Bosch Gen 5 motor, which was launched last week. This one's from Nomad PQ4Y, blah, 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 blah. And who says, if they've really increased durability, that is great. All the brands should be doing that, not just because they're bad, because they could be better. Also make them like other parts of your bike that you can maintain, repack, service, or replace. I think it's an important point. The thing is, we actually went to see the e-bike motor centre in the UK back in January, and the fact that you can actually repair motors for not that money. Like, I think it's £260 for a full service rebuild of a motor. But it is important, isn't it, Enrico?
It is, because, you know, these rigs we're buying, it's for many people, it's a big investment. So you want that bike to last as long as possible. And of course, we all know that we need to do maintenance. So I kind of encourage, you know, more of that on a global scale, like people expert into rebuilding motors and giving product a longer life.
Yeah. Next up is, are we in agreement with Saint Ian Jarnas on this one? It's sad with all the complaints about 85 Newton meters. My Shimano E8000 is honestly more than enough. Silence and durability is much more important. Yeah, it comes back to the whole business of power, doesn't it? Like, honestly, Enrico, I genuinely like riding all e-bike motors. I genuinely do, because I think it's all about understanding the personality of the motor. Obviously, every motor has a different cadence range, has different torque, has different peak power. Obviously, it's not just the motor, it's about the bike that supports that system, right? The geometry and the suspension design and the sizing and the material and the weight and the wheel size and all this.
Absolutely, but let me add something to this. I think when you start, and we've all began with e-bikes, with a motor, and I think the motor you first use also shape the way you ride your bike.
Interesting.
You talk about cadence, peak power, support, and so on. So now, in the last generation of many motors, well, I use Bosch, but you can fine tune.
You can.
You know, for example, I go +2 on support and dynamic on my eMtb, and that kind of, it's customized on what I like, the way I like riding. But it's a process. I would not be able to do it when I begin something. So you need to learn and then.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you and me, we both love technical riding, but we got 65 kilos, 95 kilos.
There we go.
The way the motor reacts is going to be different for the two of us. Enrique, you're going to love this last question.
Oh, yeah.
You had plenty to say about the Santa Cruz Valor, but Mr. Lauren McCallahan wanted to know, where was this filmed? I'd like to ride there someday. What a brilliant comment.
You'll find me here.
Where were we riding? We were actually riding on Downhill Men.
Yep.
Right? Quite a difficult place to access if you don't know the area, but there is a map, right? There is a map. There's also 36 uphill trails here in Finale. How many downhill trails are there? There's got to be like 300.
I mean, it's 250 in total.
Yeah.
And 36 is uphill trails. But for this guy, if you want to come and ride, in that area of DH Man, there's other easier way to descend, but there's some specific e-trails that we built some years ago, for the 24-hour when we did a e-edition.
Yeah.
And that's super fun and super playful.
I think the great thing about Finale as well is the amount of places to eat food, and you can sit down, you can chill out. Even up on the mountain, you had what are the places up towards Downhill Men? There's about 4 restaurants up there, right?
In Lemania, in the flatland of Lemania, there's a bunch of restaurants, all good local food.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's fair price.
It is fair price. And do you know what? I think in the last few weeks, or many weeks, I can't tell you how many Ligurian rabbits I've had.
Poor rabbits. When Jones is around, rabbits run away.
Honestly, I think sometimes I'm having like 5 rabbits a week. And it is so good. It is so good. You just cannot get that kind of food in the UK.
With olives, pine herbs, the local herbs, the pine nuts.
So, Mr. Laura McCallaghan, Finale Ligure is the area, very easily accessed by train or car from Nice Airport or Genoa. Sure. The accommodation here, so much accommodation. We're actually in Finale Borgo, like I mentioned earlier in the show. There's also Finale, which is about 1 kilometre to the south of where we are. Not only has it got great trails, it's also got the Mediterranean. Okay, let's kick the bike world off then with Col B, Turbo Levo.
Nice.
We're going to make this very, very sharp. Now, Mount Magazine, Arkansas. This is from Folklore 3. What bike is that, Enrico? That is
It's a hardtail high bike.
Hardtail high bike. I mean, our location is fantastic. I'd say that was a nice as well. Next up, oh crikey! No, why? I'm sorry, Enrico. The moustache fat for Paul Curtis. I'm really sorry. I don't get it. I just do not get fat bikes.
We need to do a full show on fat bikes and e-fat.
Okay, well, unfortunately, Paul, that's a nice from me. And okay, we've got one more left, and I think Arctic Northern Norway, 71 degrees north. This is Marianne Daniloff, and we've got a Specialized and a Ghost. I think, Enrico, have you ever been that far north?
No, but for me, the location is super nice.
What about the bike? I think that's a super nice as well. Marianne,
nice. Well,
you've actually got the only super nice in this week's show from Finale Borgo. Thanks for sending in your bikes, guys. We'll try to get some more bikes on the channel in the next few weeks. Right, Enrico, we've got the band telling us to get a move on because things are kicking off in the bar. The bar is called Osteria Bar Porta Testa.
That's Porta Testa.
And these are the gates of Finale Borgo. Fantastic pizza just on the right-hand side as you go in there. A few last things to cover on the show. This is the social side of things. Enrico, progression. This post here is all about where things begin. I mean, when did you begin riding e-mountain bikes?
Mountain bike 86, e-mountain bike with the very first generation 1 moustache bike, hardtail, in Genova, going uphill at night in trails with Andrea.
Oh, wow. So I think
10 years ago,
this
maybe
is
more,
like, but like, it's always going to start somewhere. And then next up, this is up at Jacob's Ladder in Utah. I mean, that's a fantastic location there.
I want to go back to Utah.
You want to go back to Utah?
I want.
Yeah, nice bit of rock. And then finally, which is quite appropriate on the subject of racing, this is Hugo Pigeon? Hugo Pigeon at the French Cup very recently, absolutely caning it. Absolutely caning it.
The Scout Rider is one of the really, really fast guys within the series.
Folks, that's it for this week's show from Finale Borgo. Like I said, at the very heart of Finale Outer Region. Enrico, thanks so much for joining us. Coming up on the channel in the next few weeks, we are looking at the whole business of uphill flow. We've got some more in-depth features on uphill climbing, different wheel size, different suspension, different bike types. But for now, Enrico, again, congratulations on Hall of Fame. And
thanks, Chantey.
Looking forward to riding. Well, I've actually not experienced probably a fraction of the trails here in Finale Outdoor Region.
That little.
Huh?
That little your experience.
See you next week.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.